Eric's going to talk to us about new updates in SmartDeploy, right?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me on. It's always fun to showcase what the team's been working on. So this one's a pretty big UI update, and in those, I always like to show where we started from first, so that you can kind of get the visualization to where we are and maybe that aha moment. But this is the SmartDeploy desktop console. So this is what's installed with SmartDeploy and has been for years, probably since 2014. So let's say it wasn't that long ago.
Thanks, Austin.
That's a matter of opinion, Eric.
But the team has been working really hard on converting this over to a locally hosted web console. We're just calling it the web console for now. Kind of boring, but if you hear me slip and say consolo, that's been the internal code name for this. A little ode
I
to
just want
Star
to pause.
Wars
Like,
there.
that's such a cool name.
Yeah, that's way cooler.
Like,
That's
consolo is so much better than like the web console.
You should
Just gonna throw it
slip
out
all the time and just call it console. You got to make it a thing.
there. Yep.
Yeah, so consolo moving forward.
That's right.
We released this version yesterday evening, actually, and it's got a little link to preview the new web console here, Consolo. And if we pop that open, you'll see beautiful new UI. Similar functions, and you have your left-hand nav with all of your assets and computer management and stuff like that you would see in SmartDeploy today. Looks much nicer, but this is much more than a UI change as well. There's also some awesome new functionality in here for users of SmartDeploy. So one of the biggest feedback items that we get is around multi-user support, being that the desktop console is just a Win32 app. You have to install it. If you want to share that, a lot of scenarios end up being, hey, we install it on a central server, you remote desktop into it, then you end up working in that manner. We all know that that doesn't always work. You end up stepping on each other. You can only have so many remote desktop connections. Now you can just go to a web page. I have this locally hosted, but if you're on the same network or VPN'd in, you can just go to the server name, load the page, and you have the ability to manage any of your clients via this web app. So it makes utilizing it as a department so much easier. In addition to that, prior, when you had the central server that you were remote desktop into, you were basically deploying everything from one server. So if we take a look at the way you deploy in Consolo, we go in, say we want to deploy an image, and we have a few remote offices here. So I'm in Seattle. We'll say our main office is in Seattle, and all of the clients report into the Seattle office, and I can see them here. But I know I have a couple of remote offices in New York and London, and then a bunch of remote clients that never go into an office. When deploying an image, you often want it to be as close to the user's device as possible for the best network speed, and so you don't congest things like VPN connections. So let's say this device is in London, I can select that, and here's my deployment package that I can send from there. Conversely, if I have something that's on the internet, somebody's at home, I can select OneDrive or any number of the cloud storage providers that SmartDeploy supports and deploy that purely over the internet. So you have the option now to select where the files are coming from, and you can get them for performance reasons as close to the endpoint as possible. So that's some of the cool new stuff that's coming in SmartDeploy. Like I said, this was released yesterday. If you want to go download and check it out. If you have any feedback, we're always listening, and you can send an email to feedback@smartdeploy.com.
Eric, that's super awesome. Just kind of if for the chat, if you're not familiar with SmartDeploy, but you are familiar with PDQ deploy and inventory, the central server feature in deploy and inventory, that's essentially kind of what's happening here in SmartDeploy now, but it's also web-based.
Yep.
Right. So you're able to work on the same things together as a team, and you don't end up with like configuration drift or compliance drift. But I think like my favorite part of this whole new thing is the idea of a distribution point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you create your own content distribution network.
Yeah.
Which is smart.
These image files, they're not little by any means.
No.
Right. So I think Eric called out like a point of like geolocation being one of them.
Yeah, VPNs over especially intercontinental distances are great.
Yeah. Like I think I was like giving you crap the other day because I was like, why is it taking me so long to transfer this 100 meg file
Yeah,
over the pipe?
he did say 30 seconds. This is the level of this man's patience. He said it took 30 seconds. It was too
Forever.
Yeah, that is a long time.
That is a very long time
for that size.
But I'm also thinking like this distribution point thing, and Eric, jump in and like correct me when I'm wrong, is maybe you're just in a large office.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe you have a couple hundred endpoints at a time, just sharing the load amongst distribution points, right?
Yeah, well, not even geographical distance, but space, right? Think of a college or like a government entity, right? Like you can't. It's not easy to have one point of reference for, especially pushing images, which are pretty chunky, especially if you're doing a lot at the same time, right? So.
So keep in mind, this was just released yesterday. We do want feedback. Like Eric said, it's feedback at smartdeploy.com. Is that right, Eric?
Yeah, that's right.
That's right.
And you can download it. I put the download link in the webcast chat so you can get your hands on this and play with it. It's pretty cool stuff.